Hey guys, welcome back to our tutorial. This is part 2 of our SmartDress website. We had this website which we were building in the last tutorial. If you haven't watched it, you can just find the link up there. I'm going to link it on this video. So the last time we were working on the home page, and I said in the next tutorial we will be working on our products page. Right now we cannot get it because we don't have products.html, but we are going to work on it on this tutorial. So let's just jump right ahead and start working on it. So I'll start by creating the file. I will say products.html, and then I'm going to copy everything on my index page. Just say Control A to highlight everything, and then come to this page and say Control V. So I will press Control V and I will paste everything there. If you don't want shortcuts, you can just right click, then scroll down here and then say paste. So I'm going to remove some things. I want the header to be included in my page. So let's just open products.html, and we see we have everything that is on our index page, and we're going to reduce them slowly. So I want my header, so I'm going to close it so that I don't delete it. And also I'm going to remove the main, so I will just close it like that, then remove, and then I'm going to remove this section also. We're cleaning up, don't worry. I'll remove this one also. Let's just say I want the header and the footer to be remaining, those to be the only ones remaining. So I'll also remove this, and I'm just left with the header and the footer, and that's nice. This is what we have right now. We have our header and then we have our footer. These are the footer links. Great. So let's begin. So another thing, I want to create CSS file for products. So I will say new file, and then I will say products.css like that. Now I'm going to close this and also close this, and we will be working on our products.html page first. So I'm going to link my CSS. So I will say link, and then I'll say products.css, and we're going to use the icon, also the basket icon, and we don't need to do anything about it right now because we already have it included. We have the CDN included from the last tutorial. So I'm going to create a section, and I will call it product section. I will say section dot products dash section like that, and inside it I'm going to create a div, and I will call it filter search. So I will say div, and I will open the div. I'm going to create a class. I forgot to create the class, so I will say class and then filter dash search. So it's going to have a filter header and then also a search input, and inside the div I'm going to give a h2, and I will say filter in caps, and I'm going to have a form. So I'll say form, not in caps. I'll say form like that, and then I'll open it, and inside the form I'm going to have an input with type text and placeholder. Let's say placeholder. I'll just say let's say clothes like that. Now if we open this with live server, or I think we already have it, you can see we have a placeholder inside the input, and then we have our filter header. So let's continue. Let's style that first. Instead of continuing, let's go ahead and style it so that we can see everything come to life. So I'm going to say product section. I'm going to select it. So I'll say products dash section, and then open curly brackets, and I'll give it a width of 100%, and height, not height, I'm going to give it padding. It should be 20 pixels, and 25 pixels. I'll be consistent and I'll say dot filter dash search, and then we're going to style that div, and I'll say background dash color, and we're going to say hash 4 FB7B3, like that. That's the color we've been using. So we can look at it and see we have this div stretching from one side to the other side, and we can continue working on it. I'll say padding 10px, and then I'll say df, which stands for display flex, and then IIC center, and then JCSB, and I'll say color should be white. And let's look at it. We see we have our filtered text on this side and our input on the other side. So let's continue. I'm going to style the h2, so I'll say I'm going to style the h2, so I'm going to say dot filter dash search, and then I'll say h2. Don't worry about my naming, I'm really not good at choosing names, so I'll say font size, then I'll say 30px, and then that will be it. So if we come back, we can see the size has been increased. So next we're styling the form, so we'll say form and then open curly brackets, and we'll say df and then AIC and then JCC, and then we're going to give it a border, and we'll say 2 pixels, border, and then 2 pixels solid white, like that. And then we're going to give it a border radius of 10 pixels, border dash radius 10px. Then we can look at it. This is what we have. So next we will be styling the input. So we're going to say form, then input, then open curly brackets. So I will say width 300 pixels, and we can look at it. We will see that the width has been increased, and also we're going to give a background color of transparent so that it doesn't have a white background color. We want it to use the background color of our div. And we can continue with font size and say 20, and we can say padding, you can say 10px and then 15px. So not 20, should be 10 pixels. So padding top should be 10 pixels, and then right and left should be 15 pixels. So from here to this placeholder to this corner, it's 15 pixels. And outline, so outline is this boring border that we have when we click on the input. So if you click it, you see a black border. That's called an outline. I hate it, so I'm going to remove it by saying outline none. So right now if we click on there must be something wrong. Instead of saying none, I said outline again, so I'll say outline none. So if we click on our input, we don't see that stupid border, and I will say border equals 0. You can also say border none, like that, so that you don't have a border. And now you see what we have. And if we continue to style it, you can say margin dash right, and you can say 10 pixels. So you can see it's pushing on the right, giving it 10 pixels. And you can say color dash white. So right now if we type in our box, we're going to have white color. So we can also style the placeholder and give it white color. So we can just say colon and then placeholder, and then say color, say white. Simple as that. And now you can see even the placeholder itself is color white. And let's add some dots to it so that it looks like a placeholder. So you can say clothes, like that. Yeah, that looks good. Let's continue. So we can work on the filter search, filter products. Now we've already created this div and we've styled it, so let's continue. Let's create another section. Let's create another section and work on it. So I will say filter dash products dot filter dash products, and then open it, and then inside it I'm going to have another div of filter dash box. I made a mistake here. Dot filter dash products like that. Yes, and then another div dot filter dash box like that, and then inside the filter box I'm going to have another div, and then I'll say dot filter dash qty, so that stands for quantity, and inside it I'm going to have an h2 like that, and inside the h2 I'm going to have an I. So let me give it some spacing, and then I'll just say I like that. This should be an icon, and then I'm going to say class, and then fa dash solid, and then fa dash filter like that. And I'm going to have a span after the I, so I will say span like that, and inside it I'm going to say qty in caps. Now let's look at what we have. We have this filter icon and also the quantity. I'm sure you know what this is going to look like because I already showed you what you're building. And after the h2 we're going to have some p tags, and I'm going to say men's like that, and then span, and then I'll say 100, and then I'm going to copy it down a couple of times. So as we have always done, so shift alt and down arrow key, then we can say 1 2 3 4. Yes, and then we can say ladies, and then down here we can say kids. We're just assuming that this is a section that someone can filter what they want to search. Actually, if you want us to build something dynamic using JavaScript also, or even Django and Python, you can just leave a comment down below, and I'll be looking forward to doing those tutorials also. So we can say women 300, and kids we can say 100, and then bags we can say, let's say 1,000. This is what we have in stock. And then shoes we can say 150 like that. So let's look at it again. This is what we have right now. So underneath that div, we're going to have a div with class products. So class product, so we can say dot products like that, and then open it, and then inside the products div we can say h1, and we can say our, then products like that. And underneath it we could create another div and say dot products dash box, and then we're going to have some images, and let's say img. Inside the products box we're going to have another div, so we can say dot product dash card like that, and then should have pressed enter, and then enter, and then inside it I will say img, and then src it's going to be img slash t1 slash t1 there. So it's going to be t starts for t-shirt 1, and then all should be let's just say shirt like that. And then underneath the img we are going to have the name of the image. So we're going to say h4, and we're going to say Hawaiian men's, then shirt. I'm sorry about the noise, that's my neighbor's child. And I'm going to have another div, give it a select of price. So I'm going to say the price, and then I'll say P, and then inside it I'll say $10. That's the price. And then I'm going to say I, that's the icon for our basket, and I'm going to say, I'm going to give it a class, and then I'll say FA dash solid, and then I'll say FA dash basket dash shopping, like that. So if we look at it, this is what we have, and we have our basket and our price, and we also have our shirt. So we are going to start styling these divs and see what we get. So let's work on our let's work on our filter dash products. This div that we have here, we want to give it display grid, so we can say dot filter dash products, and then I'll say DG, that stands for display grid. If it were flex, we would have said DF, and then we're going to say grid dash templates dash columns, not templates but template, then columns, and I'm going to say 1 FR and then 4 FR, like that. So you see what we have. We want them to align vertically, but we want one container to be a little bit small, not even a little bit, but way smaller than the other one. So I want the filtering div, the one with the prices, to be way smaller than the one with the products. So I'm going to say dot filter box, so I'll say dot filter dash box, like that, dash box, and then I'm going to say padding, and then I'll say 10px 5px, like that, and then I'll say background, so we can say color or just background, and then I'll use this color that we've been using to be consistent, and then I'll say margin dash top, and I'll say 20 pixels, and I'm going to say color white, and then I'm going to say height, I'll say 40%, and then border dash radius, I'm going to say 10 pixels. So let's look at it again. This is what we have. Just a minute. Next we're going to style the h2, the filter box h2. So we're going to say dot filter dash box, then select the h2, and we're going to say df display flex, and then AIC, and then we're going to say JCSB, and then MB10. Sorry, this should be in a new line. So we're going to say margin bottom 10 pixels. So you see we had this div up here, and we're going to give it a margin bottom of 10 pixels. Now let's continue. Next we're going to style the p tags. So we're going to say dot filter box, and then p, and then we will say df, and then AIC, and then we'll say JCSB, and then p10, like that. I should have put padding on its own line, and I'm going to say cursor pointer, like that. So if we look at them, we have them down here and they look good. And next we're going to work on the hover state. So if we say dot filter dash box, then p, I forgot again to say hover, so a column, then hover, and I start styling it. I'll say background color, and we're going to use this color, and then we'll say color and white. It should be white. So if we hover over them, they should change. Actually I used the wrong color. I used the wrong color. Let's use a good color, the other color that we've been using. So I'll say hashtag, and then I'll say 3, then E, and then 9795. 97, sorry, 97, then 95, like that. So now you see we have a hover state which looks good. So we're going to start working on the products div. So we're going to say dot products, and then we're just going to give it a padding of 10 pixels, and that will be it. Let me add an S here, and then go down and say dot products h1. That is our products text, the one we have here, this h1, our products, sorry. That will be this h1 that we have down here. So let's continue styling it. So what we're going to say is color. I'm going to say hashtag 4, this one, and then next we'll say MB, and say 30, which should be 30 pixels, and next we're going to say ML, and we should say 20, that's margin left, and then I'll style the products card, so dot products, and then dash card, not products but product dash card, and then I'll open the style and I'll say background dash color, and it should be hashtag F9, like that. And then next should be width, should be 250 px, and the height should be 320 pixels, and I'm going to say df, and then AIC, and then I'll say JCC, and then I'll say flex direction, and say column, and then next I'm going to give it a box shadow, so box dash shadow, and I'll say 2px, 1px, 1px, 2px, and then I'll say RGBA, and I'll say 0, 0, 0, 0, and then 0.5, like that. Let's look at it. We can't see anything yet, but we will eventually see it. Or you know what, let's simplify it and say let me say 0, 0, and then let's say 8 pixels, and then hashtag, and let's say 333, like that. So as we continue, we will see it work. Let's style the product card, so we'll say dot product dash card, and then hover, and then I'm going to say box dash shadow, and I'm going to say 0, 0, 2px, and then I'll say RGBA, and then 0, 0, 0, and then 0.5, like that. And then we'll go to the next section, and I'm going to say dot product card, and then img. So right now we are styling the image, so let's look at it. So this is the image that we want to style right here, so let's work on it. img, then we can say height, let's just say 80% for now, and we will see how it's going to look. And you can say dot product card h4, then you can say color hashtag, then we're going to use this color. Actually, if you don't like the color I used, you can just create your own. Right now you can see how it looks. We have our div, and if we hover on it, you can see there's something cool working right there. So let me add a transition product card. I'm going to say transition transition all 0.5 seconds is like that. So if we hover on it now, we can see it's smooth, and there's something wrong with our display grid. Let me take a look at it again. I'm sorry, I put the products div inside the wrong box, so I'm going to put it out here, and then so we're going to see now it's working well. And also we have another problem out here, but we're going to work on it shortly. So let's continue. We're working on our H4. So let's work on dot product dash card, and then div. The div inside it, I think it's the one that has the price and all that stuff. So we'll say df flex, and then we'll say IC center, and then we'll say JSCB, sorry, JSC, not JCSB. I'm sorry, you guys, I'm sure you might be wondering, hey, it is JC, not JS. I'll say width should be 70%, and I'm going to say margin, I'm going to say 5 pixels top and bottom, and then right and left should be auto. And next we are going to say padding 2 pixels 15 pixels, like that. Top and bottom should be 2 pixels, right and left 15 pixels, and then color should be white, and FZ should be 25 px, and then border radius should be 10 pixels, and then transition all 0.5 seconds is. Actually, you can do specific transitions, but for me I always like a shortcut, so I use all. So there's something wrong with the color. Let me just check it short. Let me just try to change it and see what we're going to get. So we have this $10 in black. We have it in black, and I also don't see my basket, so it means it has another color. So let me check at the color, and then the background color. I'm going to remove the background color of the product card and see what's going on. So I don't see that basket. I'm wondering why it's gone, but we see it's here. The question is, where is it actually? So I'm going to try and inspect it. I don't know if you guys have learned about inspecting. So dot price, and then yeah, I can see it here, but it's not showing. So we're going to give it color. So let's come back to that div, and we're going to say we're going to give that div a background color. So let's say color white, like that, and then background color should be the normal color that we've been using, like that. So let's take a look, and I still can't see my cat. I'm wondering what's going on. Shoppings, should it be shopping? Yes, we got it. Now we have our basket. and we also have our beautiful div. So we can even style the card and give it a border radius so that it's not that sharp. So let's just say border dash radius, and let's say 10 pixels, like that. And now you can see we have nice looking borders. They're not that sharp. So that's it for the styling. It's just to paste in the products and see how good it's going to look. So I'm going to paste. So we're going to duplicate this products card, this card here. So if you want to know where it's closing, you can just click on your opening div tag like that, and it will highlight its closing tag. If I click on the other one, it's going to show me that this is its closing tag. So we want to click on this one, and then we're going to say I think we're going to paste it 4 times, not 4, I think 6. So we're going to say Shift Alt down arrow. We're going to do it 5 times. So 1 2 3 4 5, like that. And if we come back to our page, we see we have more pictures. So we are going to change the images and the prices. So let's look at them. Let's do it right now. So I'm going to close the one that I've already worked on. So I'll say products card here, and then I'm going to move to the next one, and I will say MGs and then S1. So S1.png, and then I'll change the text, and I'm going to say casual women's skirt, and then I'll change also the price to be, let's say $12, and let's look at it. You see it looks nice. And then let's change the next image. I'm going to change it and say T2, and then I'm going to call it just give it any random name. This is not actually a real store, so I'll say freestyle men's shirt, and then I'll say it's $8. If you guys want to know how I get my images and how I make sure that they're the right fit for my website, just comment down below and I can show you. Maybe I can work on another tutorial which says how to get your images for your website. And then I'll say 3-piece. The next one should be 3-piece.png, and then let's look at it. Change the text. I'll say latest women's 3-piece. I don't even know if this is actually a 3-piece. I'm not a woman, so I'm not that into fashion. So we can just say it's $10, or let's give it 18. And then the next one, I'm going to change it to bag.png, not jpg, png, and I'll change the text. So don't be worrying about where the images are coming. We have this imgs folder, so if you just name your images, things should work fine, unless you didn't get the images folder from my GitHub. So I will say school bag, and then say unisex like that, and then the price should be $22. And then let's move on to the next one. After bag we have single bag.png. It's jpg actually, it's not png. And then I think it's called single strap, single strap, and then I'll say men's bag, and the price should be $15. You see, there we have them, and they look good. So something is not working well with our grid, so we're going to look at it again. So I'm going to look at the products box. Where is our products box? Do we even have it? Okay, we don't have a products box. We're going to work on it. So we want these images to align horizontally, and once they reach the end of the line, to create more. So we're going to say dot products dash box. Let's check first if we have them. Yes, we have the dot products box, and then we'll say DG. I'm going to say DG like that, which stands for display grid, and then grid dash template columns, and then we're going to say we say repeat, and then 4, 1 FR. We want all of them to have the same size. So this is what we have, and we can give it a small gap. You can give it a small gap, or if you want, you can reduce it to repeat 3 like that. And this is what we have, but it doesn't look so good for me, so I'll say repeat 4, and then I'm going to reduce the size of the card, product card. Why is it here? It is. So we have a width of 250, we can say 240, and we can say a height of 300 pixels. It depends on your screen. I'm working on a laptop, and it's a little bit small, but on my desktop it looks good. So actually, you know what, I'll just increase the height to, let's say, 310 or 320 to its default. 320 to its default. What did I do? 320px like that, and then we can work on the gap. So we can say, come back to our product dash box, and then we can say grid dash rows, grid dash templates dash rows, and then no, I'm going to say gap, as simple as that, and then I'll say 5px. So let's look at it like that. That's what we have. It looks good, and I have a feeling we need more images here, so we're going to add some more. Let's add, I think, 2 images. So let's come back to our HTML, and then the way I showed you, you click on the opening tag, product card, and then we're going to add 2 more. So shift and then alt, then arrow key twice, and you will have that. And then next, what we can just say is I'm sorry, made a mistake. I should change the img name. So it's going to be d1.png, and then I can say again, I made a mistake. Should change the h4 text here, then remove it, and then say beauty dark green dress, and then the price should be $30, not 39, 30. And then I'm going to change the other one, and it should be tr1. Made a mistake. tr1 should be tr1.jpg, yes. And then the text inside the h4 should be die hard black men's, like that. and then the price should be $24, 24 like that. So let's look at what we have right now. Yeah, you see how good it looks? It looks really nice. And that's it for this page. We have the products page, so we have our home page, and then we have our products page, which looks so good also. So one thing we need to work on in our home page, the index page, we want to link this button so that when we click it, it actually slides down to this section. So let's do that right now. So let's go to our index.html and go back to the main section, and we had this href that is working like a button. And if we come down here to this section, we have class explore section, so we can give it an ID so that we can target it in the href and slide down there and say explore like that. So if we come back to our button, our anchor tag, which is our button, we can just say the hashtag explore like that. So let's look at what's going to happen once we click it. We see it slides straight to this page, and it's just instant. We want it to slide smoothly. So when we come back to our styles.css, we can say HTML, and then you can say scroll behavior, and you can say smooth like that. So right now if we click it again, you see it slides smoothly to that section that we want to target. So the next thing we're going to be working on is our contacts page. Right now we don't have it, but we're going to create an HTML page and name it contacts.html. So we'll say new file, then contacts.html like that. And then the same thing we did, we're going to copy everything, Control A first, then Control C to copy. You can see this shortcut down here, copy, and then come to our contacts.html, and then we can say paste, as simple as that. And then we're going to clean it again just by removing everything that is not needed. So let's close the products section, the index section, the styles and products CSS. So we want the header to be included, but this section we don't need it at all. So we're going to remove it. We're going to also remove this div, remove it, and also we're going to remove this one. So I just close it like that, then remove it, remain with the footer, and sorry, not paste. I should have opened it with live server. And that's it. That's all we have. Exactly the same thing that we had before when we were working on our products page. So we're going to create a new file and say contacts.css. We don't have to create these CSS files, but simply because we don't want to put all our code in one place. Sometimes when you want to add a feature or correct it, it's so much code you don't know where to get what you want to target. So I choose to put them in separate files. So we don't need the style sheet for products. We need the one for contacts. So we'll say link like that, and then you can say contact.css like that. Then I'll close this, and then we have our CSS file there. So let's start working on this page. Now we're going to create a main section. So I'll say main dot contacts dash main. I'm giving it that class because you remember in our index page we also have a main section, and inside it I'm going to put some links. So I'll give it a class of dot social dash wonder what's happening here. So I'll say dot social dash links, like that, and inside that I'm going to create another div and give it a class of links. So I'll say dot link, like that, and inside it I'm going to have a couple of icons and some h4s. So I'll say I, and then I will say I will give them classes. So I'll give it a class of fa-brands and then space, and then I'll say fa-whatsapp, like that, WhatsApp, and then I'll come here and give it a space and say h4, and then I'll say WhatsApp, like that. And then I'm going to copy this div, the dot link that has a class of link, and shift alt down arrow 3 times, 1 2 3, like that. And then I'm going to change the h4 text. I'm going to say this one should be Instagram, and then the next one I'm going to say Twitter, and then the last one should be, I think, GitHub. So let's say GitHub, like that. Also, if you guys are not good with GitHub, you can just tell me and I'll work on a tutorial for GitHub. So we can say Instagram, and also we can say fa-x-Twitter, like that. It should be double T, and then we can say GitHub, like that. So if we come back and look, we can see this is what we have. We will work on the stylings shortly. Then next we have a container and a form. So let's work on the form. The form is the one that we will be using for sending message. So underneath the div for social links, we can create another div and say dot form dash container, like that, then enter, and then we're going to have an h2 and say send us a message, like that. And then underneath it we're going to have a form. The action should be empty. When you are working with Django or PHP, we use the action to tell the form what to do. If you want those tutorials, also just let me know in the comment section. And inside the form I will create a div, and inside the div I will have label, sorry, not label, it's label. And then I will say name, and then I'll say name with a capital letter. And if you come back and see, you'll see we have this label right here. Actually it's the label for the input for name, just to tell you this input is for name. So we can say input, and then we can say type should be text, and then we don't need the name and the ID. Name is actually used in Django also and PHP when we want to collect data and use it in our forms. So we are going to copy this div down, I think twice, so shift alt 1 2, like that. And then the next will be email, let's say email, like that, and then we can say email with capital E, and then this should be message, and then 4 should say message, like that. And then we're not going to use an input, we're going to use text area, and the name should be message. ID, we're just going to leave it blank for now. And then underneath that we will need a button. button that says send message, like that. And if we come back and look at what we have right now, we have these labels and also the inputs and the text area and the send message button. So let's style this page. We're going to start by styling the contacts main, which is the main seg tag, and we're going to say dot contacts dash main, and I'll say width should be 100%, and then I'll say height, I'm going to give it 67 VH, and then padding, going to say 20 pixels, 50 pixels, and then next I'll say df like that, and then AIC, and then I'll say JCC, like that. We want all of them in the center like this. And then next what we're going to do is we'll target the .social links, .social dash links. I'm really terrible when it comes to naming classes. And then I can say background color, and we can say hashtag, and then 4, and then F, and then B, then 7, B3, like that. We're continuing to be consistent. And then you can say color, and we will say white, and then we will say width, let's say 200 px, and then border dash radius, I'm going to say 10 px, and then I'm going to say margin dash right, I'll say 50 px. So this is what we have right now. Let's look at it again. You see how it looks, and we should continue styling it. So let's target the link. So let's say dot link, and then open curly brackets, and say df, and then AIC, and then padding should be 20 px, and then padding should be on a new line, padding 20 pixels, and then 30 pixels. So if we look at them right now, they've been spaced. We have WhatsApp, Instagram, and we have padding top and bottom, right and left. And also we can continue and say FZ should be 25 like that, and we can say cursor should be pointer. So let's look at it again. We see now the cursor is pointer and the font sizes have changed. Let's continue. So we're going to target the icon, so we can say dot link I, like that, and then you can say margin dash right, you can say 15 pixels, and then you can say transition all 0.5 seconds is like that. So you see now we have some spacing. And also we can continue with the form. So I'm gonna say dot form dash container, like that. Then I'll say width 50%, and then I'll say background color. So one thing you need to know about using percentages, if I say to the form container width 50% and I haven't given its parent a width, it won't work. So if I say let's say we have form container, where is it, this form container, if we haven't given its parent, which is the main contacts main, a width, it won't work, because it's wondering how will I calculate if the parent doesn't have a width. So if the parent has a width of, in these terms our parent container has a width of 100%, now the child knows I'm going to take 50% of that 100%. So that's one thing you need to know. So if you might be doing your own project and wondering why is it not working, why is 50% or 30% not working, just give the parent a width. So you can say background and use for that color. I really don't know what color it is, the name of that color. Padding 10px and then 20 pixels, and border dash radius 10 pixels. So let's look at it again. Yeah, you can see now this container has some styling working. Then next we can target the container h2. So you can say dot form dash container and then h2. That's the text. Send us a message. Color, I want it to be white, and then I want the text to be aligned center. So you can say text align and then center, and then we can say fz should be 35, and then the margin should be 20 pixels, then auto. So top and bottom, it's going to be 20 pixels top and bottom, and then right and left should be auto, although we already had it centered with text align. So next we're going to style the form. So you can say dot form dash container form, like that, and then you can say width 100%, which is going to be 100% of the parent's width, and we're going to say height also 100%, and we can now style the form div. So the divs that are inside the form, all of them, width we're going to have 100%, like that, and then we're going to say df and then AIC and then JCSB. Yeah, right now I got it right, I didn't make the mistakes. So you can see we have them displayed. Justify content, we have space between. Let's continue. And then we can have margin 10px auto, margin 10 pixels auto, like that. Then we move next to the label. So we can say form, then div, then label, and we can start styling it. We can say color should be white, and then fz should be 25, and then margin right should be 10 pixels. And then we're going to style the input, these inputs right here, this one and this one. And there's something wrong because our labels aren't taking the styles. I said from instead of form, so it's form. So you can see the labels are now white in color and the sizes have increased. So let's style the form, and then div and then input. So width 80%, and then we're going to say fz 25 pixels, and then padding we're going to have 10 pixels, then 25 pixels, then 0, then 25 pixels. So we're just saying padding bottom to be 0, so because we want the text to touch the bottom of the div. You see right now, if we let's say give it 10 pixels for now, we'll see the text will be floating in the air, and we're going to remove the border and only remain with the bottom. So let's leave it like that for now. We will work on it later so that you can see what I'm saying. Then we can say background color, background dash color, we can say transparent, and we can say color white, because the background we have that blue color, so we need the color to be white so that it can look good. And then outline, again we're going to say none, and then border should be 0, and then border. So if we say border 0, we are left with nothing. You can see we have nothing, so I'm going to give only a border bottom. So border dash bottom, I'm going to say 2 pixels solid, and then white, like that. So we have only border bottom. And now you can see if we take something, let's say Clyde Sparks, Now you see our text is floating in the air. That's why we were giving a padding bottom of 0 pixels. So I can just remove the 1 or remove the px completely. If it's 0, you don't need to specify the pixels. So you see our text is touching the bottom of our div and it looks nice. So that's it. We're going to now move to the text area. We're going to say form. Again, I'm saying from instead of form. I'm going to say div and then text and then area, and we're going to style it. We'll say width. We just want it to have the same styles as the inputs, and outline none, and border, I'm going to say border 2 pixels solid white, like that. And then I will say background dash color should be transparent, and I'll say border radius should be 10 pixels. I'm trying to be consistent. And then I'll say padding 10 pixels, 25 pixels, and then I'll say fz should be 25, and then I'll say min height. I'm just saying the minimum height it should have. So right now you can see how small it is, but I want it to have a min height of 200 pixels. Min dash height 200 pixels. So if we look at it right now, this is the minimum height it's going to have by default. Even if I refresh, this is the minimum height it's going to have. So let's continue. Or we can give it a min height of, let's say, 150 px, like that. And next we can say color should be white, so that it can have color should be white. And then the last thing should be margin top should be 20 pixels, like that. Yeah, so let's continue. We're going to style the button. I'm going to say form button, the button that we had that says send message, and I'll say width, let's say 60%, and fz should be 25. Then background color should be white, so we can just say white. And then color is the color that we've been using. Color should be hashtag this one. And then next we're going to have text dash align, and then center, and then font weight bold, and then I'm going to say border 0, and then padding should be 10 px, 15 pixels, and then border radius, what am I doing? Going to say border dash radius 10 px, and then margin 20 pixels auto, and then cursor pointer like that. So let's look at it also again, and we can see we have a good button. And let's say display block and see what happens. Now it's now moved to this side, on to the right, and you see now it looks good. So let's give our main, let's add some height to it. So main, we gave it I think a 67 VH height. Let's say 80, like that, and see what happens. 80. I think I'm going to go with 85 or 90. 85 or 90, like that. So you see what we have right now. We have a good contact page. So we can jump over home, products, and then contacts, and you see nothing happens. Nothing happens because we are still linking the contacts page to our home.html. So I'm going to come to contacts, and then you see we have index.html. I'm going to change it right now because we have a contacts.html, and say contacts.html, and then I'm going to come to products and do the same. And also say contacts.html, and then I'm going to come to index.html, and I'll say contacts.html. So if we come back to our page right now and say home, products, then contacts, now you see we can navigate to our contacts page. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you had fun building it with me, and I said I'm going to give you guys a challenge. So I want you to create trending.html page and about.html page, and add a few images in trending.html page and style them, and also do the same for about page. Maybe you can have an image of a few guys and their names and more like our crew, and then a text about SmartDress, and give a few details about our website. And then after doing that, you will find my Twitter handle and also my Facebook handle on the comments down below. So I want you to send me links to your websites if you will upload them on GitHub, or you can just send me screenshot and images, and I will also upload them on my YouTube channel so that other guys can see what you've done and your creativity. Try to be consistent with what we have been doing. Don't just come and use yellow color in this awesome color that I've been using. And also remember to like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends about this video so that we can continue growing as a channel. It's been nice working with you. Seeing you in the next one. If you have a suggestion of what tutorial you want to see next, holler at me on the comment section below. See you. Bye.